I don't have any fun quips for you, but I did manage to hunt down that really sweet Deadguy Ale looking list from the other day, so let's just pretend we're all excited about that. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Old Greasy has given me a Dealer's Choice donation deck list, which I'm going to use to play a deck that we saw on the other side of the battlefield a couple of days ago, maybe yesterday for you all. Time is very weird when you're a content creator. So, Scissor Man Meat Pie played this really cool deck that you see right here. And we had a language barrier issue. I requested the deck list, and that didn't quite work out. But then later, they reached out to me and actually got me the deck list. They didn't give me the sideboard, so I had to build a sideboard, but they gave me the main deck, and all I did was adjust a couple of lands. So, the genius is theirs. We're attacking on a lot of fronts with this deck list. Number one is Tarkir Dragonstorm Rising Favorite Voice of Victory, which is particularly impressive if you have any degree of synergy with the temporary tokens that it makes. Getting a bunch of energy can allow you to do some really cool things in this deck and potentially exile something for a very long time. We've got some old favorites in this deck, alongside some newer cards that offer combo opportunities. Warren Soultrader allows you to sacrifice another creature and pay 1 life to make a treasure token. Notably, it is a zombie. So this goes infinite with Gravecrawler. So each time you can pay 1 life, you can make a treasure and recast your Gravecrawler. Well, there's a couple of different things you can do with that. Number one, you can just kill your opponent. As long as your life total is higher than theirs, you can just kill them by draining them out. Sounds sweet. Number two, you can just make a metric ton of energy via Guide of Souls and then start funneling all of that energy into the combat step, which is pretty strong. Note that if you pay a life and then you gain a life right back, like you are net neutral on that. And then there's one other cute thing, Spymaster's Vault. So, for a black mana, target creature you control connives X, where X is the number of creatures that died this turn. So you can sacrifice your Gravecrawler a whole bunch of times, and then draw X cards, where X is the number of creatures that died, and then discard X cards. You put a +1/+1 counter on that creature for each non-land card discarded this way. So this can be another kind of combo finish for you, where, say, you already have a flying creature from Guide of Souls, or you have an Ocelot Pride that can lifelink. You can do some pretty gross things there. Now, I had to build a sideboard, and I didn't give this a ton of thought. Look behind the curtain, Magic Online went down today, so I am now recording in the evening, which is something that I normally don't like to do. So we have made a list. We've got our obligatory Graveyard Hate. We need to do some sort of Null Rod, Stony Silence, Wrath of the Skies style card to deal with artifacts, and Stony Silence is the one I'm picking. It hits some combo decks pretty hard, sometimes can shut off alternative win conditions like Goblin Charbelchers. We're going to do a smattering of Graveyard Hate, of Combo Hate. If we can attack the hand and we can kind of attack the stack and make it so our opponent can't cast multiple spells, maybe while also shutting off the graveyard, we have a very, very real chance versus combo decks. And I think conceptually our fair matchups are going to be pretty good, but I wanted a few goifs to just give me some extra reach in the fair matchups, just as something powerful that I can play if we start reaching the end game. I'm concerned that we're a touch light on colored mana. We don't need a lot of mana, and we never really need white or black. It's nice if we have it to play multiple spells in a turn, but generally speaking, it's not like we are seeking to hardcast very many cards that look like this. There's not Douthie Voidwalkers in the list or anything like that that put a ton of strain on the mana. So hopefully this is fine. Yeah, and I think with that, let's just go ahead and jump into the matches here, folks. Should you need any cards for this deck because you want to try it out at your local FNM or whatever event it is you're playing in, consider grabbing those cards from TOAMagic.com. You always get free shipping, their customer service is great, promo code ThrabenU saves you 5% on your order, plus, like, look at the logo. That's a logo of greatness, right? Purple banner, looks sharp. So, with that being said, let's battle. Ew, I love this hand. I think we're just going to go ahead and lead on Guide of Souls. Um, there's a surprising amount of nuance to this hand. Like, I could fetch basic planes on one to play around an initial wasteland, but if I do so, I can't double Gravecrawler on a turn, 3 or 4 turns down the line, which could be a real concern. We have a Ponder and a Shuffle there. I don't currently know what we are playing against. I am absolutely interested in trying to assemble this combo immediately. We're just going to yield to all energy generation. This is unfortunately just going to be 2 energy this turn. I don't get to attack and do the cool thing. But next turn I will be able to. I'll be making a cat at my end step and then gaining another life and another energy. I think if we are playing against a fair blue deck, it is very important to get this going as quickly as possible. If we are playing against an unfair blue deck, it is possible that playing Dark Confidant first is more important, so that I can try to find, oh boy, static, 1 mana white enchantment, that thing. Interesting. Card goes on top. All right, what is it called? Static Prison, there we go. Ooh, that's neat. So are we playing against Grixis Control here, or is this a combo deck? We are playing against Grixis Control. I desperately want to do this. Very nice. Send them. Absolutely yes to this. I'm going to gain the extra life here and make it so that that thing doesn't get ambushed by something in a minute. All right, cool. Another basic island. Toxic Deluge. Here we go. Ruin my fun. Kill my cats. That is a brainstorm after playing out basic island. I don't know if I like that. My opponent has not left themselves the opportunity to fetch and clear that now. If you've got something like a Bowmaster, it has to be played out on your turn, or Voice of Victory just gives you the old bardic middle finger. That is a Lightning Bolt on my Guide of Souls. Ooh. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage. Pretty sick. Send them. Mobilize 2. So fetches are offline. Force of Will is offline for multiple different reasons here, and my opponent has conceded. I am going to move forward, assuming that we are playing against Grixis Control. Double Basic Island is probably not something that I'm going to see out of a Grixis Delver deck. So about the only thing I'll want to consider here is the Goyfs. What are my opponent's win conditions going to look like? Probably like Murktide, maybe Kaito. Bowmasters is not unreasonable to be thinking about. Opponent will probably have a couple stock ups or Culligan's commands or something in that approximate space. I don't know that I need 8 1-mana removal spells. I think I'm going to trim Static Prison since it is not a permanent answer to creatures, and just go up on threat density a little bit. I could play Thoughtseize here. It would not be unreasonable to do so. It gives me more good early openers. But I think I want to have some removal for stuff that might look like this from my opponent's side of the battlefield. I believe that I am willing to keep this one. A Wasteland will be exceptional against me. My opponent's mana base might be able to fit in 1 or 2 of them. Opponent keeps 6 cards. Delta and pass. So I don't get to just snap off Wasteland immediately. My opponent's going to get good value off of an Orcish Bowmaster. I think I am just going to accept that that is true. Holy shit, a Force of Will on an Ocelot Bride? My opponent's deck, in theory, should have so much removal. This is very surprising to me. Yeah. I'm into where we're going here. I think I'm into Voice of Victory immediately. My opponent has indicated to me that they do not have spot removal. Right, like spot removal just checks an Ocelot Pride. So let's see what they're doing here. Like, I would love to stick this. My opponent does something with their mana on their turn, maybe play out something like a Narset, and then I get to Wasteland my opponent. Yeah, you can cling to dust, that's fine. Alright, we're in play. Let's see what my opponent does on their turn. Lightning Bolt is a super clean answer for them. They do have more lands. Alright, so my opponent doesn't get to cast spells during my turn, so my shit just resolves. So my opponent only has 1 blue source. Now they have 0 blue sources. I think I just stick one of these. while I know it resolves. Like, there is definitely this temptation to go and play the Marionette Apprentice immediately for the synergy with Voice of Victory. But I think I just want to make card draw worse. Ooh, and my opponent removes... well, never mind. They just removed both of my creatures. My opponent does not have another land. Let's grab Marionette Apprentice now. I will make a bonus friend. I will wasteland you off of red removal. And we are now very far away from Cling to Dust flashback. Ooh, that is not good for my opponent. So I smell the blood in the water here. After my opponent does not block, I'm going to go ahead and play Orcish Bowmasters out in my opponent's face. They are going to take 4 in combat. And we are getting to the point where something like a Toxic Deluge that just kills all of my creatures is incredibly scary for my opponent. That was a 2-0 against a control deck in less than 10 minutes of real time. This bodes well for this league. This deck is sick. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. Okay, this hand doesn't work for a number of reasons. A, we don't have white mana, and B, Spymaster's Vault is going to enter tapped. So this one is... ooh, an easy mulligan. Say it with me, chat. I believe in Wasteland. Non-basic land. Non-basic land. Dude Scar, please. Non-basic land. From Mox. Please don't be oops all spells. Okay, this is fine. I'm good with whatever's happening now. Unless it's Archon of Emeria. Voice of Victory is fine. We'll wasteland the shit out of this City of Traders and be a happy boy. Dark Confidant is not the best thing to play into a Voice of Victory that is going to attack me for 3 each turn. But I'm kind of hoping that I strand my opponent on resources in the short term, and then I just will acquire 3 power worth of stuff. Voice of Victory Mirror. Take 3. 17. Ah, no, don't do it. Don't do it. I have so much to live for. Fuck. I probably don't win anymore. So I get clocked for... so I play a tapped land, I get hit for 5. If my top card the following turn is Swords to Plowshares, I will be at 12, I will be at 11, I will take 3 more, I am at 8. I'm going to play the most confusing land for my opponent, and I'm probably dead. But I think when you see Polluted Delta, you will not be thinking anything like the deck that I am playing. Oh wait, no, I can't have played Polluted Delta. Polluted Delta doesn't fetch basic planes. Fuck. Alright, it wasn't swords anyway. I believe that I am now comfortable conceding. Oh yeah, we were a while away from removal. Okay, I like Goyfs here. The Bowmasters are probably less necessary in this matchup. They might do some things. They can still ambush some creatures in combat, but Voice of Victory makes the Flash a lot less relevant. I think I am good rocking this. My opponent definitely has a mana advantage. This is presumably fine. I can even play the early game on basics. My opponent's probably not a Wasteland deck, but you never know. Ancient Tomb. Chalice is reasonably good against my deck. Do I have answers to Chalice? Not so much. We'll just kind of keep that in mind. Yeah. I guess this is what I get for not getting Scrubland, but Solitude pitching Sheltered by Ghosts, which is a removal spell and lifelink card. This was something that I considered putting into this deck. So now we'll pass the turn. I'm very happy with this 1-for-1 trade of lands. Basic Plains. Another Gravecrawler. Double punished for getting a basic. Let's play an Apprentice here. I'm going to make this Servo. Not 100% sure about that choice, though. Like, the creature size for combat definitely matters. I think there's a good choice that I end up on the defensive and I just want to chump block while leaving this in play. Alright, there is a Voice of Victory, which I don't think I am taking out of play with Static Prison immediately. I think there's a good chance that there are scarier things that can happen. And we're chilling. The Voice of Victory is not very good to attack with right now, because I have a first strike lifelinker versus these 1/1 tokens that my opponent can make. And Gravecrawler notably just can't block, in case you are not super familiar with that card. That is a Sheltered by Ghosts. That can take out my Ocelot Pride, and it does. This is in exile until this aura leaves the battlefield. So if I kill this 2/3 in combat, I do get my stuff back. Also, if I draw a land, I can just Static Prison the Voice of Victory away. I will need to pay for the ward. Alright, opponent is getting frisky. So I can safely block a token and just take a couple of points of damage here. I don't think I need to get rid of my servo yet. Sure. This is very aggressive from my opponent. Like, they are saving a 1/1 token here. And if they were going to do this sort of thing, I guess it could have happened pre-combat. There is a Wasteland. I think I am just playing a Goyf here. My opponent has hemorrhaged 2 Solitudes very quickly. I think I am just going to throw this out there, assume that it gets bigger. My opponent has an artifact that they're pretty likely to sacrifice. If I end up trading with Voice of Victory, I get my Ocelot Pride back. That's 3 mana, so that means my Goyf is now a 3/4, meaning my opponent's attack has gotten worse. Swords is great. I think I just attack in with my Goyf, see if my opponent wants to double block. If they double block, I remove Voice of Victory, kill the other one in combat. Get in there, bud. Alright, they are just going to let me hit. Means that Goyf does Goyf things. I will absolutely return a Guide of Souls. We will Swords Voice of Victory, paying the ward cost. Now, we're going to move to end step. I do get a 1/1 because we gained life off the lifelink here. And next turn, I will probably take my opponent out of the game by wastelanding that Cavern of Souls. Ooh, that helps a lot. If they've got a big broken card, like say a Palace Jailer, this is a chance to play it. It is a Seasoned Dungeoneer. Wastelanding my opponent is now a little bit less good. Oh wow, they're attacking. They are about to take a lot of damage on the crackback. I need a little more mana here. Yes, you're a problem too. I kind of wish I had gotten a Scrubland earlier in the game. Oh well. We are going to go ahead and take out the Seasoned Dungeoneer. Since the Archon flies, I'm just going to crash in with everybody. So I will take the initiative myself, grabbing my basic planes. Then we get the Goyf trigger, or 5 cards. Flash creature here would be great. Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, that's enough for my opponent here. You know, looking at it now, I was asking for a flash creature, but I've boarded out most of my Orcish Bowmasters, so I guess that was not a super reasonable ask. On the draw, my opponent could chalice me, and that would be pretty bad. I could play a couple more Bowmasters just to simply have cards that don't cost 1. I think I'm going to just ignore Chalice of the Void and pretend that that's not going to happen. Not having an out to Chalice was an oversight on my end. I really need a second mana source. This hand is gas, obviously. Like, these are all cards that I am very happy to see, but I think I just need stable mana. I'm going to say that this is fine. And like Shadowy Backstreet on 1. I'm going to get rid of Gravecrawler. My opponent is going to come out of the gates faster than me here, and the hope is that Swords to Plowshares can get me out from under whatever my opponent does initially. They junked an Archon, which probably means that I'm looking at an initiative creature on turn 1, or another Archon. It's another Archon. That's fine. I was planning on doing an ETB tapped land anyway on turn 1. As long as there is not an immediate follow-up threat that is very scary, this is fine. This is an exceptional card in the matchup. This is truly an incredible card. I don't have the mana for it right now. So if I take this, I need not only this, but I need another land afterwards. I think I'm just going to bin this. I have more of those cards in my deck. I sort of wish I had Gravecrawler and Marionette Apprentice instead of 2 apprentices. I was thinking about goodbye my Bowmaster that can just answer this. Well, I guess they could take the swords to protect their Archon. This might be hand dependent. If they take the swords, it takes me a little while to answer this, and they get some short-term damage. Swords might actually be better. Yeah, I am with that. So I will take 2. 18. That is a fine draw here. It's not overly exciting, but it's something that I can play this turn. And it's something where if my opponent doesn't play something that stabilizes the board, it gives me a little bit of life back. And that little bit of life could become relevant. Swords? Swords. That's fine. You get 1 spell each turn, bud. You get 1 spell each turn. You have fucked up. So, just for those of you at home playing along, what you are supposed to do is play the creature on your own turn, and then on my turn, use Swords to Plowshares, so that you use your turn efficiently through your own hate cards. This is potentially a game-losing level of mistake here. This is a lot of tempo that I get back. So I'm going to get to remove this. I will do it on my opponent's turn, because I'm not going to play a spell on my own turn. And if they have something weird like I got a gift. Sweet. Bowmaster trigger. Kill the Spellbinder. Now we'll see whatever it is that my opponent was going to play last turn. What is this? Oh, it's a monk. Sage of the Skies. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's yet another flyer that can fit into this shell. There's a lot of evasion here. So that's 3rd land drop for this. This always enters tap this turn. Is it Ocelot Pride or Marionette Apprentice? I think it's Ocelot Pride, despite the fact that it's not a mana efficient play. This just gives me some immediate life. I think every single immediate point of life is relevant. So I don't want to see something like Sheltered by Ghosts that takes out my Ocelot Pride and increases the clock to a 2-turn clock. That would be pretty annoying. Hey, there's the swords. That's how you do it. Swords on my turn. And this is exactly what I did not want to see. It's not as bad as Sheltered by Ghosts, but it is still very much not good for me. A Voice of Victory. Yeah, we might get out-tempoed before I get anything cool online, unfortunately. I take 4 in the air. I don't get to deal my chip damage back like I wanted to. Okay. Man, it sucks that I can't play more than 1 spell a turn. Alright. So I need to hit the Archon and then hope that I can live through this. It's not quite going to be a 2-turn clock. I'm going to take 5 this turn, be at 4. Then I will go up to 6 on my own turn. So this doesn't kill me the following turn, counting my blockers. So I don't think I need to lose these bodies here for a single point of life, since I am not just currently dead in the air next turn. And we're just hoping this last card is not a flyer. Honestly, we're hoping this last card is a land. Okay, cool. Does this change my turn? It means I can think about Wastelanding Ancient Tomb. But if I'm operating under the assumption that my opponent's last card is a land, it doesn't super make sense to do that. And I could draw another land to be able to 3-drop plus 2-drop next turn. Okay. Guide of Souls. Marionette Apprentice. They're going to yield to all energy generating abilities. I'm going to make the extra body here. Gain my extra life. We'll see what my opponent's got. My read on the situation is their last card in hand is a land. That was probably the draw for turn. Alright, Voice of Victory is still coming in. So, I think I am killing this. My opponent does not have white mana open. So I can go like, block, 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 that's dead. I lose a servo. I would take 4, and then I leave these around to do the same stuff next turn. So I go to 2, I go up to 4, probably take 3 the next turn. This is fine. So I do get a Marionette Apprentice trigger. Opponent's at 21. And then they sacrifice the temporary tokens. Okay. Is that better? So I go to 3. I don't die to this. This is probably better. So Sheltered by Ghosts is the big problem card. Playing this out the way that I did. And I attack to get a flyer. So I go block, block, block. Hypothetical world where Swords to Plowshares happens. I am at 6 life. My opponent is attacking for 5. I believe that I can give Guide of Souls flying so that it walls this in the future. Yes. Ooh, stressful. Oh, there's not a land in graveyard yet. This is a combat trick too. Opponent's got some castable card. It is just the Sage coming in, which means that I take 2. Fetch land is not currently on the table. Alright, I'm at 1. I'm going to set a stop in my draw step. I think there's a lot of times where I wasteland my opponent in my draw step. Alright. Voice of Victory. That is a cool card. I don't need that right now. My opponent has tapped and untapped this Ancient Tomb. If they're going to do something with it, I want to know right now. Similarly, I think I do this pre-combat to just attempt to gain 2 life. Alright, cool. So here's the 2 life. This gets me to 3. I'm not dead to the monk. Now we're going to go to combat. I hold this back. This blocks the monk. I hold back all the idiots on the ground to stop Voice of Victory, and I swing in with the Goyf. Do not have enough energy to make this fly right now. That's okay. I do have a land in graveyard now. I hit for 4. Yes, I will mill cards. There is an Ocelot Pride. Fuck yeah. Alright, go to second main phase. Fetch. Go back to 6. Get a scrub land. Play an Ocelot Pride, which is going to trigger Guide of Souls. Now, we are going to move to the end step. We have the City's Blessing. I played Marionette Apprentice this turn and Ocelot Pride, meaning that I get extra copies of those tokens, and I believe we are now fully stable. I think my opponent lost this game to their own play. So remember that turn, I don't know, about 5 turns back when they did a main phase Swords to Plowshares on their turn and they did not play a threat. I think since I was at 1 life at one point this game, if they play out their cards properly and they play their threat first and then swords on my turn, I think they win this game. Oof, little decisions matter a lot in Legacy. GG's. So I am loving this deck. Something kind of quietly insidious about it is that you have cards on turn 1 that you can play that look like this in Guide of Souls that kind of require an immediate removal spell or they start to spiral out of control. And then I get to just fucking follow it off with Voice of Victory and shut off counterspells for the rest of the game. Kind of feels like cheating. Heyo. Love seeing a tapped land. Hello? Okay. Don't panic. Nobody panic. Everything is fine. I don't quite have like a full combo kill yet. I think I'm going to play Voice of Victory. Like if my opponent is Blue Dredge, there are counter spells over there. I guess I should have attacked first in case there's some weirdo, oh, what is it? Contamination style cards. Or not contamination. Contagion? I think it's Contagion that puts... There's something funky like -2, -1 counters on creatures, and it's a black pitch card. Alright. Could have been worse, honestly. The part that sucks here is that there are some theoretical lines where my opponent produces creatures at instant speed with... Oh boy, what's it called? I've forgotten the name of the cards. Sorry, I am recording after dinner. It is late for me, and I am eepy. I want to hit my opponent for 2, and I might be clearing my opponent's bridge from below, because this is whenever a creature is put into opponent's graveyard from the battlefield, so tokens will do just fine. Do I have any black-only lands? I have a Polluted Delta in the deck. I should leave Scrub. I'll get basic plains with this one. We are going to go 1, 2, 3 for Warren Soultrader. Oh, that Otherworldly Gaze is the name of the card I was thinking of. So this is something that can like potentially pop a Narcomoeba out of the graveyard at instant speed. Damn, well now I can't sacrifice his cat to play Gravecrawler and clear bridge. That is unfortunate. Anyway, this sort of deck is why we have Leyline of the Void in the sideboard. It'll help out a lot. Let's just pop out this graveyard. Anyway, the exact words that were about to come out of my mouth were, we don't want to see Breakthrough or Cephalid Coliseum this turn. We don't want to see something that can cause my opponent to draw Bill, what is it like to be a YouTuber? What is it like to play video games all day and entertain a group of largely 25 to 35-year-old men based on demographics? Well, a lot of times it's fun. And then other times, your opponent has 40 cards in graveyard as of turn 2. Oh, excuse me, turn 3. Alright, that's 3 Bridge from Belows. There is a Cabal Therapy. So for those of you who have not experienced the joy of Poxwalkers plus Cabal Therapy before, boy howdy, it's a hell of a drug. Now you might notice that I have 2 copies of Dark Confidant in my hand. They could in theory disappear here. That was 3 Poxwalkers. You know, even if I clear that first Bridge from Below, this is still a disaster for me. Orcish Bowmasters is a great choice from my opponent. That's not only a card that's in my deck, but it's a relevant card because I could use it to, say, ping a cat token and clear 3 Bridge from Belows here. Guide of Souls. If I attack with Ocelot Pride, my opponent can block with Narcomoeba. No, they're Narcomoeba would die the first turn, so they could block with a zombie token. I don't kill a zombie token. Or alternatively, I just take 1. I might need to leave the first striker back. I am almost certainly just going to die to Cephalid Coliseum, though. So I gain 1 life here. Always yield to that. I guess this is gain 2 life. I'm so dead. Oh, I gained life from the Guide of Souls trigger. That helps a little bit. 22 life is nice and healthy. It's not like I could just die this turn. Right? There is another Cabal Therapy that my opponent can make even more zombies. Man, not having that Warren Soultrader in play to clear not only the first Bridge from Below, but then on the following turn to clear these other 2 is a big deal. That second Force of Will was stellar. So now I will lose my other Dark Confidant. Bye, Bob. Okay, it is not Cephalid Coliseum, it is just Otherworldly Gaze here. So if my opponent had a way to immediately progress the kill, they probably would have done Cephalid Coliseum. So these decks used to run things like Flayer of the Hatebound or not Zealous Conscripts. Zealous. It's a Boros card that gives all your creatures like +1/+1 and haste or something like that. All right. I just don't beat this. So the way that I win is this gives 3 more zombies. Okay, so I'm not beating this. Okay. Ugh. All right. Leyline in. I probably play Thoughtseize despite the fact that it occasionally can be awkward for me. Static Prison is not the best here. I am probably going to get rid of that. Dark Confidant is very scary if I am boarding in Leylines. I probably get rid of that. Do I want more Goyfs because they are large? No, I don't think while I am boarding in Leyline I want to do that. Okay, I mean, I've got a Leyline of the Void. I have my Colors of Mana. This is fine. It is a little hard for me to use a Wasteland effectively here. I don't know exactly what my opponent's answer to Leyline of the Void is. There's a Bloomburrow, Gift of Fish, bounce a permanent card. There's a bunch of other similar Chain of Vapor style cards that my opponent could be playing. If I draw a land, I will probably snap a Wasteland off on that. Not. Am I fine just playing Gravecrawler and having 3 cards stuck in my hand? Like, is that fine to potentially keep my opponent from bouncing my shit? Might be. Let's say yes. It also incidentally shuts off Daze, which Voice of Victory would also do. Alright, Wasteland, Gravecrawler. I am just attacking for 4. Like 4, then 5, then 6, assuming I don't draw a land. That is hopefully just fine. My opponent does have more mana. I have more Leyline of the Voids, which is great. That's a card you want in the matchup, right? Right? That's how that works. 17, 14, and make a cat. Did not get bounced immediately. Massive thumbs up to that. Okay, opponent had plenty of mana here. Cool. What am I doing? Probably Voice of Victory. I don't want my opponent to be able to bounce a Leyline on my end step, like, as a surprise. Cool. Send in. This is another 5 damage. And then I make a cat. Is this lethal next turn? Got 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, this is lethal next turn, although my opponent could just play a 3-drop creature to potentially block something. My Leyline of the Void not getting Force of Willed. That will cost my opponent a life. Alright, fantastic. Let's have Leyline in the opening hand again, please. This is a hand that I would be perfectly fine with in a fair matchup. I think this matchup is too unfair for a Thoughtseize to save it. We are very much in a mulligan to Leyline situation. This is an exceptional 6-card hand. I think I'm going to stand by what I said. This is an exceptional 5-card hand, absolutely. So I have my choice of Ocelot Pride and Guide of Souls for the combo, or I can take Orcish Bowmasters, which is very good if Leyline leaves play. I think I'm going to get rid of Bowmasters and just keep the snowballing thing. It also potentially lets me surveil land with my second land drop, which is a big deal. If I get to just go 1 drop into surveil land and then potentially find something good as a follow-up. Ooh, didn't get bounced. Feels good. I'm used to just dying against Oops All spells while Leyline of the Void is in play. So this is very refreshing. Swords is kind of whatever. Little Ocelot Pride, and then get in there. Opponent has Force of Will. Is Force of Willing. Is not Force of Willing. Is Force of Willing. Pitching Brainstorm. I will send in for 1. I absolutely do not have the energy to pay for that, and you know it, game. The opponent's at 18. Now is Leyline getting bounced? Hey, this is the exact card I was thinking about. Now, the problem here, opponent, that you have given me a fish. Will give me energy. Surely this will be your downfall. So my opponent would like to do something broken with the graveyard right here before I have a chance to drop the Leyline of the Void back into play, which I am somewhat likely to be able to do. Yeah, I will absolutely just take this land to be able to recast Leyline on my next turn. So I'll send in for 2, drop my opponent to 15, and pass, holding up a Swords. Otherworldly Gaze. Note, my opponent does have Cephalid Colosseums in play, so things could get bad. There is a Golgari Grave Troll. This is the setup for things to get bad. I have a Swords that can help in the short term versus things like, oh, no Dredge? No Dredge. Okay, cool. So, I mean, I'm going to attempt to cast Leyline of the Void. My opponent might just be countering it here. But I'm going to do this pre-combat. I don't think it makes sense to wait a turn to play around Daze. The matchup is just too fast. Yep, there's Daze. So I expect that when I go to combat, bad things could happen. My opponent could cast another Otherworldly Gaze or flashback this one. Now I don't have Swords up to interact in the short term. Okay, I will bash in for 2 more. This is not what I want to see. My clock isn't good enough. My interaction isn't good enough here. These games where my opponent has multiple counter spells protecting their graveyard combo are rough. Maybe I did need the Thoughtseize to fight against counter spells specifically. And we'll just see how bad this gets. That's not bad. My opponent has Echoing Truth as well. That's also not bad. The issue here is that Cephalid Colosseum now just activates. Cool. Oh, there's Poxwalkers, there's multiple bridges, there's not a Cabal Therapy yet. There's still not a Cabal Therapy. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. I've got a window for a big draw here. I mean, I think I cast it, and I think I'm just very unhappy about it. I guess I need to attack first. Still don't have energy. 8. Deal 2 damage to myself. It's thugs. I know those were both thugs. No, I don't think I did. Am I a 1 shadowy backstreet deck? I am. Raw. There is a Narcomoeba. There is a Cabal Therapy. So I need to remove this Narcomoeba in my opponent's draw step before they can cast Cabal Therapy and bring back the Poxwalkers. Cephalid Coliseum, though, is extremely problematic, but my opponent has 14 cards remaining in library, so that is, I guess, a thing. I still think my opponent just gets to make a massive zombie army. That likely beats me. Narcomoeba now. And they can just Cabal Therapy themselves to take Dredgers out of hand, which is what's happening. So that'll be Grave Troll back to Graveyard. And there's another Cabal Therapy so they can take the other Dredger out of their hand and make 3 more zombies. And this doesn't cost them any bodies. Voice of Victory. Not really what I want here. I am absolutely at cast the cards I draw. Like, I am at that phase of the game. I don't really know how I win anymore. Opponent does Dredge. Down to 5 cards in library. There's another Poxwalkers, 2 more Cabal Therapies. I am okay tapping out here. I am going to die in combat within the next 2 turns. GG's. As a little side note here, that was a fantastic round of Magic where decisions matter. Even though my Graveyard Hate was invalidated, like, this was a 24-minute round as far as my recording time goes. This is so much more pleasant than playing against something like Oops All Spells, where everything is compressed to often under 5 minutes of gameplay. I've got a weird one here. So this is essentially a 5-card hand. My black cards are not castable. Static Prison is not particularly strong without additional energy generation. I think I'm just going to mulligan this one. Ooh, 5 cards it is, deck. Yikes. On 5, we probably risk it with a hand that looks like this. And just hope to spike the land. I don't think I'm willing to go to 4. Static Prison always goes back here. And then one of Swords or Bowmaster 2 comes back. I think it's Bowmaster 2, since Swords is guaranteed castable. There is a timeline where I could surveil land with this land to try to make it so that I hit my next land drop more frequently. But I think the games that I win are the games where I draw a land to play Voice of Victory on turn 2. So I am going to play towards that. We are very likely playing against a Tron ramp deck here that is going to seek to power up things like the One Ring and potentially even going all the way up to the new Ugin. Alright, there's the card that we know about. There is a Pithing Needle. Wasteland is the obvious name in my opinion here. Apparently not an obvious choice for my opponent. They are just going for Marsh Flats. Bad news, opponent. I don't have Marsh Flats. Let's yield to that. Go to Punchies and Punchies. I now have a lot of power on board for if my opponent drops something like a Karn this turn. Hey, there's the 4 mana. So opponent has passed the turn. They cannot cast spells on my turn. So they're not doing anything with this mana. There's no Sneaky Kozilek's Command coming. They didn't have the One Ring to just play out. I am dropping another Voice of Victory here. So we're going to go to Punchies. We're going to declare attackers. We're going to stack the Guide of Souls trigger on bottom. And then the Voice of Victory trigger is going to happen, meaning that I can give something flying here and push some extra damage. I would like Voice of Victory to fly. So my opponent takes a bunch of damage there. And now I would like to learn why my opponent kept their hand. They did mulligan once, I believe. They kept a 6-card hand. They were not able to do anything with 4 mana on turn 2. Pithing Needle does not make a hand keepable. So what is the powerful thing that they can do this turn? It is a Kozilek's Command. I wonder if my opponent did not read Voice of Victory. So now I have a flying Voice of Victory that does not get chump blocked here. And I have brought some friends to party. Each one of these can save 1 life. My opponent is currently taking 4, 7, 8 damage. Alright, my opponent is willing to absorb 1. They are at 6. I think I want to kill a spawn. Oh, nice. My opponent did not sacrifice the spawn, which means that I get my orc token. We'll take those little things. Note, this was a mulligan to 5 on my end, and my opponent is currently facing down lethal. That is another planar nexus. 7 drops are online. It is a 7 drop. It is the new Ugin. My opponent is nuking Bowmasters. They go to 9. I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 showing. They need to cast a 0-drop spell or they are dead. They are dead. Won the mold to 5. Note there. We denied that 1 mana for the spawn. That 1 mana could have stopped my opponent from casting a Pithing Needle, a Voltaic Key style card, an Expedition Map style card. That might have helped there. So, let's assume Thoughtseize is good. That might be all I'm boarding. I would like my cards to be castable on as little mana as possible because I would like to aggressively, and I mean aggressively, wasteland this opponent. Generally speaking, Static Prison is probably better than Swords to Plowshares here. We're no longer in the world where Sowing Mycospawn gets to just gum up the board. There are some other things that could be seeing play, like Thought-Knot Seer, that can be temporary blockers. I'm probably going down on this. And then the question from there is, do I want Stony Silence to stop things like the One Ring? Probably at the cost of a couple of Warren Soultraders. Warren Soultrader like makes treasures, so if I trim a couple of those for Stony Silences, I think that's fine. I guess you could make the full argument that if I am going to bring in Stony Silence, I might want the Goyfs. Turn 1 Guide of Souls, turn 2 no good play. I think I would rather mulligan this hand than keep it. It has lands and spells, but not a real plan, whereas this hand is kind of the nuts. We will keep this one, pitching Marionette Apprentice. Bowmasters is just naturally good versus the One Ring, and also has some degree of text versus things like Ugin later on. Ooh, love that for me. I will absolutely just immediately wasteland my opponent's Cloud Post. I think restarting the game after I've taken a draw is favorable for me. Then we have Ocelot Pride into Ocelot Pride, and they will trigger each other, and I can Shadowy Backstreet while playing the second Ocelot Pride. Mulliganing is fucking awesome. Power. Good card is good. Good card is good. We'll wasteland my opponent in their upkeep. If they baited me by having me wasteland a Cloud Post so that they could assemble Urza's Tower plus Planar Nexus, good for them. But unless there's a Spirit Guide here, I am eating this land. And by that I mean Spirit Guide plus Crop Rotation. More tower. Alright. Alright. Fetch. Scrubland. Guide of Souls and pass. Dismember. Very good. Alright, can you follow up with a Planar Nexus after all of this? I am scared if you can. Ugh. That's a Karn on an empty board. Karn tutors. I don't love this art personally. Like the iconic Karn much better. Opponent is going for the One Ring. I have some stuff that can help with that a little bit. So, I think because I have cards named Wasteland and Static Prison in my deck still, I don't accept that. I just have stuff to do with my mana for the next couple of turns, so more mana or Wasteland or Static Prison to answer some of these permanents is a pretty big deal. So, the One Ring notably gives you protection from everything, but I can still attack Karn. There's a tapped Cloud Post too. Opponent's mana can get nutty. Karn is just plussing. We have a lot of Orcish Bowmasters. I'm just going to play one. My opponent's tapped out, so they can't respond with the ring later. I will send at Karn. Deal Karn 1, make my cat. Now, my opponent still has an active One Ring. Like, they could let me shoot their Karn a couple of times and maybe just work towards something like an Ugin that overpowers what I'm doing. Alright, Karn's just going bye-bye. Does a Walking Ballista. My opponent has a lot of mana, and my creatures are very, very small. Walking Ballista for X equals 3 clears everything except my cat. There's a Spirit Guide. My opponent is just at 7 mana. Am I just seeing an Ugin come down? That's a Walking Ballista for X equals 3, leaving 1 floating? Did my opponent just forget that Planar Nexus was giving them an extra mana? That's my guess as to what happened there. Oh, sorry, Planar Nexus was giving an extra mana for Cloud Post specifically. Because this is just everything. Cave, Desert, Gate, Lair, Locust Sphere, Mine, Power Plant, Tower, and there's probably more words after that. That's an Echoing Deeps, which is becoming another Cloud Post. I really wish there was a way to finagle this where I easily kill Walking Ballista and have an Orcish Bowmasters immediately, like still in play. But I just don't. And I can't really let my opponent untap with Walking Ballista and then get all of this juicy bonus damage. Oh my god, my opponent is F6ing my turns. They just let Walking Ballista die without killing my Orcish Bowmasters. Thank you? Okay. No, but I still think there's a very, very good chance that I lose this game to the raw power of my opponent's deck. Like, I think there's a lot of times where they just draw 3 cards, take 3 to the face here, and then play an Ugin into a couple other spells and stabilize the board. Ugin just gains so much life that it helps to balance out the life loss from things like the One Ring and Dismembers. That's 2 lands for 6 mana. It's spooky. Ulamog's pretty bad. Ulamog is pretty bad. Anna is going for my lands. Reasonable. What? Deal 20? Exile 20. Yeah, so this doesn't kill me via combat damage. This kills me by exiling my library. And my opponent doesn't die to their own One Ring immediately. Not great. I force 3 damage in. My opponent goes to 7, but I lose Bowmasters. No attack here. My opponent goes to 8. I attack them for 4. I wonder if I can wiggle my way through this. I probably don't when my opponent casts more spells. That's another round of protection. I think that's going to do it. I'm going to concede here so that my opponent doesn't get to just see all the cards in my deck. You are not able to take advantage of my opponent's missteps there. I think I am comfortable with how I have sideboarded. This single land is not going to do it here when I cannot cast my spells, whereas this is fine. I don't think I need to Thoughtseize on turn 1. I think I'm going to keep this one, get rid of Static Prison. I believe that I fetch a Scrubland immediately and play Ocelot Pride. And I do this so that if I spike a black land next turn, I can cast 2 Thoughtseizes immediately. Planar Nexus from my opponent. This is going to be a Dismember, probably. Alright. This would be greedy. I think I Thoughtseize here. My opponent is very mana light. They were intending on casting Crop Rotation to set up Planar Nexus plus Tron land. So I think I just take the Crop Rotation and knock them off of that plan in the short term. Then hopefully I draw a land and can Thoughtseize and Bob next turn. Hopefully get a card off of Bob before I lose it to Kozilek's Command. Cool. I don't think you need to cast that at sorcery speed for any reason. Our opponent has a Glimmer Post. And I walk into my turn with more information than my opponent needed to give me. We are good with Thoughtseize again here over Bob. So I just want to take my opponent's One Ring because that spirals the game out of control. I am fine if they eat Ocelot Pride with Kozilek's Command because then my Dark Confidant lives. And that is my source of card advantage as we walk into the mid game here. Alright, we knew that was coming. Hit him like a fiddle. Note that it is still incredibly scary if my opponent digs towards something like the One Ring here. Guide of Souls is not what I am looking for right now, but more or less whatever I drew, I was going to be playing Dark Confidant this turn. My opponent did bottom their card from the Kozilek's Command, so they have drawn 2 random cards. That's what we don't want to see. Let's maybe find a Stony Silence to shut that off, or a Static Prison to exile it. Pithing Needle. Should probably go on Wasteland. Alright. They got it this time. Come on, Bob. Orcish Bowmasters. That's not bad. On its Pithing Needle, obviously good here. We're going to play Guide of Souls. My opponent has protection from everything. No reason for me to attack right now. So I will just pass, and when my opponent goes to draw cards with the One Ring, I am going to make them have a bad time. Oh, I don't need this draw step stop anymore. We're not playing against Dredge. Okay, there we go. This is exactly what I was talking about. In your face. Very nice. Just yield to all energy generating abilities. Opponent draws 2. I ping them 2 more times. So now we do not want to see Tron Land. Tron Land is a big boost of immediate mana forward. I am fine with seeing a Cloud Post. Fuck. That is a Karn. At least it's not a 7-drop. We've got Tutor. Opponent can get a Walking Ballista and play it for X equals 1 to ping either Bowmasters or Bob. Probably Bowmasters. They don't cast it. Well, if there's a trick, I want to know about it now. Bam. Okay, no tricks. Orc Army token is going to kill Karn. The rest of these will go at face. This Guide of Souls trigger is absolutely happening. We're going to pay this mana. And because I know my opponent has Walking Ballista, I put it on the thing that I want to protect the most, which is this Orcish Bowmasters. So that'll be my turn. My opponent takes 2 more here, going to 7. Next turn, I can make something else fly in combat. Opponent has, what, 4, 7 mana? Maybe 8 or more if they make a land drop. So they can do a Ballista for X equals 3. And that is what's happening. So now they can still activate abilities on my turn. They just can't cast spells. Okay, they are going to do this now, though. If they do it all right now, they don't get to block. I mean, yeah, I've got counters on this. Bad news. These are already on the stack. Yeah. So when the stack clears, my opponent is at 4. They have a 1 ring at 3. Any single creature here connecting, including the tokens from Voice of Victory, is now lethal. Legacy is a hard format. I'm going to assume that my opponent is a newer player to the format here. I hope you see this video and you get to see some of the things that you could have done better for future matches. Some rules understanding about like how Ballista worked with Orcish Bowmasters. There was the extra mana from them not realizing that their planar nexus was contributing to a Cloud Post thing. There was a lot to learn in this match, and that's something I try to do on this channel. Teach. GG's. I think we're up to 3-1 now. That Dredge player got us. All right, going into the final round, I don't think I like my opening hand. Gravecrawler plus Warren Soultrader requires me to draw another card like to complete the combo in my deck that doesn't really have manipulation. So I think I can just do better. I think the energy cards in opening hands are just stronger than this. Here, I'm absolutely keeping. I'm always keeping the 2 basics. I'm always keeping Bob, Voice of Victory, and then I'm throwing back one of these 2 cards. Bob makes me want to have the 3rd land, so that if I untap with Bob, I just have a very, very powerful, like I have cards and I have lands to cast stuff. Marionette Master doesn't have the best synergy with Voice of Victory, but I sacrifice these tokens, so they are dying. If I don't want to play with both basic lands, I could Surveil land on turn 1. I don't think I like that. I think I just like not being wastelandable here. So I'm just going to play Plains and pass. If my opponent leads on something like, say, a Delver or a DRC or some other threat from a tempo deck, I am just going to fire off Swords to Plowshares immediately. Pretty happy with that draw. Which one? Bob opens up Bowmasters to be really good for my opponent. I think I'm just going to play Voice of Victory here. I think this is not going to be a Voice of Victory that sticks, but I think I'm okay with that. Basic Aether Drift Island. All right, we didn't get dazed. I'm not going to get excited yet. It's very easy for my opponent to just like Fatal Push or something here. I don't see any counter spells or removal from my opponent, I'm going to start thinking that there's something like Show and Tell. Over the course of about a week, Show and Tell like basically disappeared from the format. It went from being really, really good to falling off the map as tempo decks picked up in popularity. Fuck, I hate it when I'm right. Alright, chat. Are we static prisoning a Lotus Petal? If my opponent is something like Doomsday, that could take them off of black, black, black. But if there's something like Show and Tell, this is... It's so good to have Static Prison around to just cast. I'm gonna tank on this for a second. Oh, I really don't know. I'm always playing this out. I'll make the servo. I think I'm not going to Static Prison the Lotus Petal. I guess I don't want to always yield to that, because sometimes I might need to stack triggers. So this is 3 damage, and then we sacrifice these, and now we see Marionette Apprentice doing its thing. My opponent's picture keeps flashing in and out of play. I'm unsure if that is a feature or a bug, but I do not like it. Edge Maze. I think my opponent is Show and Tell, in which case having the Static Prison in hand is incredible. The green could be for Eureka, or it could be for sideboard cards such as Veil of Summer. Show and Tell. Here's what I'm bringing to class. Can you win on top of this? It is possible if my opponent is doing things like Cunning Wish. Eh? Come on, just have a bunch of like stock ups in your hand that you can't cast. The 2 turns of Static Prison here is an incredible amount of time. Like, I am attacking for 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 7 when the Marionette Apprentice triggers happen at end of turn, and that's not counting anything that Dark Confidant does. Please don't have 3 Cunning Wishes. Hate it when I'm right. So there's the Cunning Wish. This could get Sublime Epiphany, which, amongst other things, can counter a triggered ability. It is indeed... Oop, wrong thing. It is indeed Sublime Epiphany. So my opponent can bounce one of my permanents while drawing a card and countering my Static Prison trigger. That is unfortunate. Yep, that's a lot of words. So now if my opponent has any counter spells, they are on for my turn, and now I expect Lorien Revealed and stock ups to chain together, ultimately resulting in my death. That's an Atraxa trigger. We're going to respond to that with Ace Swords. Get out of here. That's a Force of Will. So we're going to look at the pile of cards that my opponent sees. Honestly, not the best cards. They get a Ponder out of that can maybe chain into more stuff. Oh, they didn't even bother to cast it. Alright, I will absolutely sacrifice Static Prison. Oh, I don't even get my 2 energy, by the way, since that trigger was stifled. Here we go, Guide of Souls. Here we go, Voice of Victory. That's a Force of Will. Uh-oh. I wonder why my opponent didn't cast the Ponder. Oh, well, you can just draw an Emrakul. That's fine. We can tap out there. Opponent's not at like 3 life where a Marionette Apprentice trigger just kills them. Plus they gain a bunch off of Atraxa. Okay. Deafening Silence and Thoughtseize are fine. That's all they are, is fine. Swords to Plowshares is fine versus Atraxa, but giving your opponent that much life is not great. And I think I would just prefer to stay aggressive here if at all possible. I think those are becoming these. Deafening Silence helps my Static Prison do more stuff, and then we might just be trimming like 2 Warren Soultrader or something. It being a burn spell is pretty cool, though. A burn spell when I actually assemble this. I think the game is about my first couple of plays the vast majority of the time. If we win game 2, but see something like the One Ring or Yggdrasil, the World Tree, or whatever, we can consider other options. This is fine. My mana is not perfect here. I won't be able to multi-spell, but hopefully multi-spelling doesn't super matter. Deafening Silence is medium versus Show and Tell. It is good versus Omniscience specifically, but ooh, got forced. I don't think it is correct to keep multiple Deafening Silences because they are so bad in multiples. I think we are just going to rely on these two cards to do some heavy lifting in this game. Rob, I need more cards. Bowmasters is very good against my opponent. But assuming my opponent casts the card Show and Tell, the stuff that I have here, frankly, is not good enough. I'm going to deploy Bob. Oh, opponent says I watch your video. Well, you're in one. You wouldn't kill me in my own video, would you? Gallo. Alright, that's a Veil of Summer. Purely just to cycle. Veil of Summer in for the matchup because of things like Thoughtseize specifically. And opponent potentially would have gotten me if I held out for Bowmasters. Oh, there's a pedal. Don't do it, Gallo. Have mercy. Uh-oh. Bowmasters. Shoot your face. It is an Atraxa that I am currently not equipped to answer. My opponent is going to get another Show and Tell and Omniscience. I don't like that for me. I guess the good news is there's not a Force of Will. So if I either draw or bob my way into something like a Static Prison, I have some things I can do in the short term. If my opponent didn't have the Lotus Petal and I get to Wasteland them, I potentially buy a lot of time and get to do a lot of damage. I feel very good about my estimation that I needed more cards with Bob. Alright, Show and Tell, Omniscience, Brainstorm, and Tropical Island. Come on, Bob. Wasteland? White removal spell. Okay. I think we're doing that to set up for the future. I think I just try to resolve that so my opponent can't dig their way into new removal spells. They didn't take Sink into Stupor, opting for Brainstorm instead, despite Bowmaster being in play. I don't know. I did not know the other cards in their hand. Actually, do I Wasteland? Maybe I Wasteland. What do I need mana for? I don't need mana. Hold on. Alright, I didn't do that fast enough. We're doing this in upkeep, which I guess my opponent can Brainstorm with it now. Obviously a mistake on my end. We'll say this was baiting them because of Bowmasters. That's how we'll remember this. Note here that the Bowmaster triggers are not like super relevant right now. My opponent just gets to gain life in sets of 7. I'll remember this stuff. I'm just going to get rid of that. I'm down 7. The Vigilance is rough here. I'm at 12. Apt land. So there is a dream world where I find an answer to Atraxa, I Wasteland this Hedge Maze, and we are off to the races. Come on, Bob. No? Also no. Okay. Now what? Probably just another Bowmaster. Just make it so that if I get lucky, I have less life to go through and give my opponent less time to find an out. But my next set of draws is my last. And Dark Confidant from 3 life is a little scary. So my opponent has Show and Tell Omniscience. I wonder if from their perspective it is correct to cast that. My gut says yes, it's fine. They agree. We're going to go with Marionette Apprentice here. I will attempt to go wide. And we'll see how good my opponent's follow-up is. Oh, I'm dead. So Cunning Wish gets Shared Summons. Shared Summons can then tutor up an Emrakul and another Atraxa. My opponent's at 28, so it's not like I can bleed them out with Marionette Apprentice here, unfortunately. Oh, an Emrakul and an Uro instead. Cool, I get to ping you for 1 when you draw your card. Oh, sorry, ping you for 2. Getcha. We are going to die to the Emrakul, though. I am comfortable conceding here. We still put up a positive finish in the league at a 3-2 record, losing to 2 different combo decks. Alright. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Thumbs up. This is a good one. I have a couple of things to say here. Number 1, the sideboard that I slapped together was a fine start. The deck needs to have a couple of answers to Chalice of the Void somewhere. In quickly constructing the sideboard, I went, Static Prison covers most of the things that Sheltered by Ghosts would cover, and Chalice of the Void specifically is something that it does not cover. So a couple of Sheltered by Ghosts somewhere in the deck is reasonable. Probably in the sideboard over... I don't know, I used everything in the sideboard. Maybe you don't play Stony Silence and you play 2 of those. But with 21 drops here, it feels like Answering Chalice is a big deal. Our fair matchups felt really, really good. Our combo matchups felt reasonable. Like, we had game in both of the combo matchups that I played. I guess my big question is, how worth it is this stuff versus just playing other good cards? Like, not once did I assemble a Warren Soultrader combo. I think I put it on the stack once and it was just stopped. Warren Soultrader is fine with just Marionette Apprentice as a way to close out a game. It's not really good with just Gravecrawler. It's fine if you have Gravecrawler plus Guide of Souls. Sometimes with Dark Confidant, it could like allow you to sacrifice a cat token or 2 and catapult ahead in terms of tempo. But like, is this deck better if you maybe still play Marionette Apprentice, but like you just throw 4 Glyphs in the slots where these are, and you find 4 other aggressive white or black creatures or move Thoughtseizes into the main deck? I don't know, without playing more games. I don't know that I want 2 basic planes in the deck. I might want to turn this into just another scrubland. I don't hate having basic planes, but there are definitely a lot of times where you want to play 2 colored spells on a turn, and the basics can make that harder. Like, we had some turns where we wanted to, I think, Gravecrawler, or Thoughtseize Gravecrawler, or Guide of Souls and Ocelot Pride on 2 for some reason. And when you have the basics, that gets harder to do. I could also see getting rid of the Spymaster's Vault. It is, in theory, powerful if you assemble all of your cool stuff, but if you assembled all of your cool stuff, don't you usually just win anyway? That's kind of my thought. But I like this one a lot, so Scissorman Meat Pie, thank you very much for getting me the core of this deck list here. This was a lot of fun to play, and again, Old Greasy, thank you very much for the Dealer's Choice donation deck list. I had a blast playing this. I am quite tired now. It is my bedtime, but I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. If you need some cards, you know where to go. Magic's so good when you don't get paired against Nadu and Oops All spells. See ya!